This is the definitive Anima guide by yours truly, the Anima Commander. So first of all, let's go through how the Anima trait works. So if you have the Anima trait in, for every loss you get 20 points and you get 2 extra points per Anima takedown. The bigger your loss streak, the more points you get. For each loss streak you have, you get an additional 5 points for losing. When you play Anima, you want to be maintaining a consistent loss streak without any breaks in between so that you can get the maximum amount of points possible. Now that you understand how that works, what point threshold should you be aiming for? Whenever you play Anima, you should always be aiming to get a 400 cash out. This is because the good game-changing items that can help you win games are all tier 2 items above, and you can only get tier 2 items from Anima 400 cash out and above. If your streak ever gets griefed, then you will have to settle for 200 cash out. If not, always go for 400 or more. The latest you can play Anima in and get a 400 cash out consistently is stage 2-5, assuming that you have a full loss streak. If you play Anima on stage 2-5, you can expect to have a 400 cash out on stage 4-1. So if you have ever come to my streams, you know that a lot of my games played are actually Anima games. But how do I keep forcing Anima squad? This is what I like to call the Anima Gambit. I'll only recommend you to do this Gambit if you start the game with either Jinx, Illaoi or Aurora. On stage 2-5, we're going to level to 5 so that we have decent odds of getting 3 cost units like Illaoi and Aurora, and you start rolling. You start rolling and pray that you hit Illaoi, Aurora and get 3 Anima in order to start lose streaking to get your Anima cash out. Now why wait for 2-5, right? Why not do it earlier? If you are lose streaking, you actually have a high chance of getting either Illaoi or Aurora on the God round on 2-4 instead. So on level 5, you can perfectly fit 3 Primordium and 3 Anima squad, which means you can get your cash out points as well as getting gold from Primordium trade. Only do this if you are uncontested loss streak. Okay, so now after you get your Anima in, what is your next course of action? You should be scouting all your opponents and finding out which side is the weakest. The weakest side will be the side where they have like lower star units or units with no items. That way you'll be able to kill more units and save health. If you are able to save your health properly, you'll be able to lose on stage 4-1 and cash out on 1 life. But sometimes things do not go your way and you might be too low health, but that's fine because on stage 4-1 you'll be very close to your 400 cash out and you can actually cash this out by winning your next fight instead. Why? Because for every takedown an Anima unit gets, you get extra 2 points. So let's say opponent is level 7 with 7 units and you won the fight, you get an extra 14 points. Also, some of you are wondering, how do we win stage 4-1? Well, since you're full loss streaking, you should be quite rich in resources. Do your roll down on stage 4-1 so that your board is stronger than everyone else's. For example, if you're playing a reroll comp, just start rolling down and hit every single 2-star. If you're playing a fast 8 comp, just go straight to level 8 on 4-1 and roll down for your board before everyone else. Remember to keep in 3 Anima because you still need Anima in order to get the points. Also, position your Anima units in a way such that they don't die or that they can hit units that your carries are hitting as well, because you still need your Anima units to touch the units in order to count as a takedown, in order to get your 2 points per kill. So this is the ideal Anima setup you want to have, because with Aurora, Jinx, who are both range units, you can actually use them to trap your Briar at the corner. This means that your Briar is unable to attack and your Aurora and Jinx have to die first before Briar is freed. Note that Illaoi is a very strong unit, and if you are contested loss streak, you should always try to replace Illaoi with Aurora if you can. So with Illaoi, the best you can do is just to frontline your Jinx so that she dies first. Try to put your Briar the same side as your enemy's carries. If when Jinx dies, Briar will have walked up maybe around here or something, and Illaoi will be around here. So actually the carries will attack Briar next and kill her first before Illaoi. So you have a higher chances of losing against other loss streak setups. What if you are contested loss streak and the opponent also traps their carries like this? There is actually a way in order to bait out their carry. Put your Jinx at the second row instead. So what this does is that now the opponent's backline carry, since she has 4 hex range, she will have to walk up 1 step in order to start attacking my Jinx. Whereas my Jinx does not need to walk up because Aurora is right here in her range. This untraps the Briar and Briar will walk out. These are the comps that you should play when cashing out with Anima. So the first thing you have to note with Anima cash out items is that the majority of the items are AD centric. You want to avoid cashing out into AP comps and you want to cash out into AD comps instead. So the strongest comp to cash out will always depend on the meta. You can also look out for augments to give you a direction into what comp you should try cashing out into. There are 2 types of comps that I think are very safe to cash out into: 3 cost reroll and fast 8. So for 3 cost reroll, it's very easy to stabilize because it's much easier to hit your 2-star 3 cost, and it has a much higher initial cap because of how strong 3-star 3 costs actually are. Plus, with a 400 cash out, you actually have a good chance of cashing out 3 dupes, which can help you 3-star your 3 costs much faster. The downside of course is not hitting your 3-star 3 costs. If you're ever stuck in the limbo of being on 2-star 3 costs, your board stability is very shaky and you might accidentally lose to another board even after you cash out. Now, fast 8 comps are easier to stabilize because a 2-star 4 cost is obviously stronger than 2-star 3 cores. However, they are harder to cap out because you have to reach level 9 and play around 2-star 5 cores in order to cap them out. Also, because of the fact that you have to go level 8 and do your roll down fast, it is very skill dependent, and if you have a slow APM or just can't handle quick roll downs, you might want to avoid cashing out into a fast 8 comp. Now I'll be sharing with you my personal favorite comps to cash out into. So first of all, we have Diana Reroll. So this comp is very good, especially when you get griefed. Because this comp includes 3 anima inside already, even if you get grief late game, you can still win fights and get points in order to cash out, check your arbiter in the early game, and get the right arbiter in order to play this comp effectively. All you're looking for is when an arbiter attacks 3 times, and you want Diana to either gain max health shield or gain armor and magic resist per 3 attacks. So for the build, Diana wants Guinsus, Bloodthirsters, and Titan's Resolve. These 3 items are non-negotiable. Omnivamp can be replaced with any Omnivamp artifact such as a Seeker's Arm Guard. Guinsus could be replaced if you get some high attack speed artifacts such as Mittens. Illaoi just wants the best tank items because you will be solo tanking your Illaoi. Aurora will be holding your Shred and Burn. Now this other comp is now my favorite comp to actually cash out Anima into. This is 5 Challenger Reroll. The comp is very straightforward. You basically just want to roll for Maokai 3 as your tank and MF 3 as your main carry and Diana 3 as your sub carry. You just want to remember, do not build Guinsus in this comp. Challenger gives enough attack speed. You have to build a red buff and a last whisper, and you want Maokai to have the best tank items because he's the solo tank. If you can hit Rek'Sai 3, you can keep Rek'Sai in the comp. If not, you will likely want to replace him with Tahm Kench if you're able to find him. Focus on your AD items on Misfortune and Kindred first. Diana items are just whatever leftover AP items you have left. For the best fast 8 comp to cash out into right now is actually Mighty Mech Aurelion Sol. In this comp, you really only need to mech up the Mighty Mech. For Aurelion Sol, you want pure AP items like Rabadon's Death Cap, Jewel Gauntlet. Make sure you also build Shred and Wound such as Void Staff, Morelos, or Red Buff. Mighty Mech specifically wants Gargle, Stoneplate, and Starex. The third item ideally will be an Anima tank item, but if not, you want to build another Gargles or any health item. And remember, you technically can cash Anima out into any comp. I have games where I pick a Mordekaiser Hero Augment and cash out Anima into Mordekaiser. Other popular options include Master E and Zaya. So for tier 2 Anima items, most of the items are either tank items or AD items. There really is only one pure AP item for tier 2 items, and that is the Searing Shortbow. So for every 20 mana spent, Searing Shortbow will basically send a fireball that deals damage proportionate to your AP. This fireball applies burn and wound. Next, we have the Annihilator. So the Annihilator is kind of like a hybrid item that you can put on both AD and AP users, but since it grants 5 mana regen, which is basically like a blue buff, you want to put this on casters. So it stores 25% of the damage you deal, and when the user dies or after 16 seconds, which is quite long, it basically explodes the board and deals the damage that you stored as true damage to the whole entire board. Next, we have Cyclonic Slicers, which is the only tier 2 fighter item. You gain 3 orbiting razors which do damage to surrounding enemies. The razors have a 1 hex range and cannot be artificially increased, so you have to put this on a melee frontliner in order to get value out of this item. If you put it on a 2 hex unit like Urgot or a backliner, the Cyclonic Slicers basically does nothing at all. Take note that Cyclonic Slicers also shred and sunder enemies whenever they are hit for 4 seconds. It's actually absolutely fine to put this item on your tank if you do not have a good enough fighter to put it on, and if you solo frontline your tank and let units walk around your tank, you are actually getting a lot of value out of Cyclonic Slicers, as it can hit all surrounding enemies at the same time and deal a lot of damage, especially since the razor damage doesn't actually scale with your own unit stats. So even if you have a super high AP champion versus just a no AP tank, it's still going to do the same amount of damage. Next, we'll go through the 3 AD items. First, we have the BBC, Battle Bunny Crossbow. The BBC runs your unit precision, which means their abilities can crit without IE. For every 4 crit strikes your unit does, the BBC will fire arrows that will deal damage in front of your unit. I'd say the BBC is one of the strongest AD items you can cash out. It works well with a lot of AD units. The most popular user right now is probably Zaya, where you actually want to build Guinsus, BBC, and an IE. The BBC already grants precision, but why IE? Pairing BBC with the IE actually increases your crit rate by a lot, which means you can more efficiently get your crit strikes and activate the BBC's item effect. Next, we have Echoing Bat Blades. Every 3 attacks, you fire blades around the screen that deals damage to the nearest 3 enemies. The damage scales with your AD. Very straightforward item, just put this on units that attack a lot. So the next item is the Blaster. So every attack, you fire laser beams that just deal damage based on your AD. Basically like Echoing Bat Blades but no AoE. Now for the last category of items, we have the tank items. We start off with the worst tank item, which is Radiant Field. Radiant Field basically just gives you a lot of health. The effect of the item is the damage effect, so it doesn't actually make your tank that tanky. So for every second, Radiant Field will do AoE damage based on the holder's max health. And every 6 seconds, this radius will increase. So we have Ice plus Armor. So the first time you drop below 70 or 35% health, you get a 25% max shield that lasts lasts for 4 seconds. You also release a Frost Wave that stuns units within 3 hexes for 2 seconds. So this is just a very good tank item that lets you tank more with the extra health shield, as well as slow your enemies down with a stun. This item is also very OP with Zed, because Zed's clones can actually replicate this effect, and you basically just have a lot of Zed stunning the whole entire board every time they fall below the HP threshold. And lastly, we have Lioness's Lament. If Radiant Fuel was the HP item, Lioness Lament will be the armor item. So for every 15% max health loss, you do damage that scales with your armor and magic resist. You also steal armor and magic resist from enemies that are hit. So this item basically makes your tank more and more tanky over time, as well as make the enemy's frontline less tanky. I hope that after this guide that you can also experience the thrills of gambling armies strategically playing Anima and getting to experience some of the best games you've ever played this set.